Hey folks, this lesson is the second part of Module 12.3, solving linear quadratic systems using the graphing method. All right, so this one we're going to do it the algebra way. In the last lesson we did the graphing way. This way we're going to do it algebraically. So how can we solve a system that is part linear and part quadratic algebraically? Okay, so solve the linear quadratic system algebraically. Okay, so here we got a line on top and we got a quadratic. Now what I'm going to do is solve for y on that top equation. Okay, so added y to both sides, subtracted 7 from both sides. And then I'm going to substitute in this y value, 3x minus 7, for that y right there. Okay, so it's going to go in right there. And then combining like terms, negative 7 plus 4 is negative 3. All right, and then what I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and FOIL this out. X plus 5 times x plus 5 is right here, so we get x squared plus 10x plus 25, and then now we'll distribute the 2 through, okay, and then we're going to get a quadratic that we want it to equal 0. Quadratics, we always want it to equal 0, so we can use our great factoring skills. So when I subtracted 3x from both sides, 20x minus 3x is 17x, and then we added 3 to both sides and we get 53. And then we try to factor that right there. Well, that doesn't factor very well. In fact, it doesn't factor at all. So I'm going to go ahead and use the quadratic formula right there. Okay, so here is A, here is B, here is C right there. So when we factor that, we get a negative discriminant value in there, and when we get a square root of a negative discriminant, that just means that there's going to be no solution right there. So that this parabola just won't intersect that line. That's all that means. You remember seeing that picture in the last lesson where the parabola didn't intersect it? So it just means there's no solution on that. All right, let's get one where there is one solution. So here's a line, here's a quadratic parabola right there. So let's solve for a variable right there. So I'm going to go ahead and solve for y again, and then substitute it in for y on this second one right there. So it's going to be x squared minus the quantity x minus 7. And you got to put parentheses around it because you're going to distribute the negatives through and then make it equal to 0. Subtract 7 on both sides, and then GCF out of x. So when we pull an x out, we get x times x minus 1 equals 0. Now set the factors equal to 0, and then we get x equals 0 or x equals 1 because we did plus 1 right there. Now remember, it's an ordered pair answer, so we got to find the y coordinates. So we're going to plug in x equals 0 right here and x equals 1 right there, and when we do that, we get 0, negative 7, or 1 comma negative 6. So those are our two solutions right there. Okay, all right. Okay, so here the owners of a circus are planning a new act. They want to have a trapeze artist catch another acrobat in midair as the second performer comes into the main tent on a zip line. So the zip line is going to be our line. Okay, and so the path of the trapeze can be modeled by the parabola because the trapeze swings back and forth like this. So here's our parabola right here, and then here's the zip line, this linear part right here. So at what point can the trapeze artist grab the second acrobat? Well, that's where this parabola will intersect this line right there. So it's just a crazy word problem to solve this. So let's go ahead and set them equal to each other because they're both equal to y. So this side of this y equals this y right here, and then we got a quadratic. Let's see, I think I multiplied everything by 4 to get rid of that. Yeah, so if we multiply by 4, it gets rid of that. And then we'll subtract 8x and subtract 48, and we get that. It's a perfect square trinomial, factors to a binomial squared. So we get x equals 4. Okay, so we plug in 4 and we get y equals 20. So the point that they're going to find each other is at 4 comma 20. All right, you guys, I hope that makes sense. And if you're in art class, that would be your assignment. Take care.